how to get the camper on and off the tray. This seems to make some people nervous and others aren't worried by it at all. So here we go. An 18mm open-ended and a 19mm ratchet, and we simply undo each corner like that. And disconnect the end of the plug, so we can't get power from the ute to the camper. That's how we connect the two together. So we undo the bolts on each corner, so 4 bolts, one in each corner of the camper, and then we put these load bearing pins in to each corner. So there's 4 of those, of course. Now we're going to start off using the electric stands, so we better get those out, and they live in here. So take this round this side. That goes on there. Take its cover off and connect the power. Put them in nice and evenly, don't twist them too much to the sides. The back ones actually are inside the camper, the power things, power plugs. Wasn't too concerned about that because it's the back that's more likely to get dirt into connections and things. You can close it up as well. So we've now put the legs onto each corner, the electric legs, stands if you will, plug them in. There's no point, they won't work if they're not plugged in. So now we've got to make them do the lifting. So we turn the brains for the unit on, the little green light comes on, and the round bit is aimed at the bonnet and lift applies to each corner. So there's that one. And now they're both going together. The two on this side, I can watch them. Now this corner here has come under load, so I'll nip the bolts off now so that we've got a nice tight . So what we've now got is absolutely rigid. I'm going to move around. Now I'll do the one at the front a bit more till it goes down. By the way, you'll see that it's quite loose in here. As this pad hits the ground, that will lift up in there. Watch, you'll see it happen. See in a second. There it is, see it lift up. Now we can nip off that leg. Doesn't need much. So that's this side done. Now we'll go and repeat the exercise on the other side. Now the back hit the ground first because the ground's not level. So nip the back one off. the back one. Now I'll lift the front one all the way so it gets to the ground. So what we'll do is we'll lift the front of the camper out a little bit, just lift it out a little bit at the front. So that means lifting, remember the round surface is the bonnet, so we'll lift the two front legs for a bit. And you can see the camper lifting out of the tray. Probably enough. Now we'll hit the centre lift button, that yellow button, and the whole camper will go up and you'll see the suspension rise as well. There we go. Now, you've got to look at the ground when you're driving out. If, for example, you for some reason put it on a concrete slab at a caravan park, you wouldn't normally put it next to it, but if you did, as you drove it out, the front axle would drop down off the concrete slab. That would raise the back of the tray up, so you'd need to put it up higher so it didn't hit the camper. In this case, I think I'm pretty safe there. That ground, if anything's going to go up a little bit, which will mean the tray will drop out a little bit as it's going out. So now we'll drive it out. We've raised the camper quite a bit to be comfortable about driving it out. So if we were going to be camping in this now, I'd lower it down to nearer the ground so it was more stable, and yeah, it wouldn't be moving around as much on its legs. Right? So the other thing we can do, and I'll just put this down so you can see what I've got in mind. The camper comes with two stabiliser bars. So I won't put them on today, I'm just giving you the idea. So we put the wider part at the top and the skinny part at the bottom, and only put these on when the camper is stable and it's at the level you want it to be. So then what we do is we put a bolt through there and bolt it up there. We put a bolt onto that lug down there and bolt it down there, and we nip it off. And we've created a triangulation on this side. And then we go with the other bar that the camper comes with, and we put it on here. Again with the wider part at the bottom at the top and the skinny part at the bottom, and that goes from there to there again and just locks on there like that. So the reason we put the wider part at the top and the skinny part at the bottom is if you put the skinny part at the top, all the water goes in there, through there, and fills this up with water, so you can get rust. So it's better just to keep the big part at the top. Now, because of the nature of the design, the way this double bracket occurs, the camper is very stable side to side when it's lowered that bit, but because we're only using 40mm of the length of the camper because of doors opening and closing, like this one for example, right? It can get a slight rock backwards and forwards. That's why we use the stabiliser bars. By the way, you can also use the electric or mechanical legs when the camper is still bolted to the tray, if the ground isn't level, to level the camper up with it still bolted to the tray. Possibly a bit extra safety if you're changing a wheel or something too, but yeah, because they're quite capable of carrying the entire weight of everything. So yeah, so that's it. So never ever move the legs with the stabiliser bars in place. They must be released before you try altering the height of anything, because you change the ratios and you're going to start breaking things if you don't release these. These are enormously strong. And that's it. So no more complicated than that. Okay, time to back the ute back in underneath. This is our own purpose designed tray that makes it a bit easier. The headboard's in from the side and there's no hoop over the top to obscure vision as we're backing in. So not hard at all, you'll see. So this is the Anderson plug that's fed through the front wall of the headboard, and it just simply plugs in there. That's it. We've lowered the camper into the tray. These battens that are cut to fit inside the rails of the tray are actually screwed into the chassis of the camper itself, so they locate the camper inside the tray, and it means we don't have metal to metal contact. As you're lowering it in, you can loosen these bolts off to make this head, instead of being very firm, a bit loose, and you can walk it backwards and forwards that little bit if you need to, just to get it to sit in. So that's it, it's lowered in, taking it down now. So now all we've got to do is complete lowering it in. Bit more of the front one. Don't take it all the way up, but just near it up. This is the wireless remote that you usually use, and these are very reliable systems, but that is a wireless remote. If that fails, this is a wired remote, so you plug a wire in there, it goes into the brain, and it's exactly the same, but it works through a wired system rather than a wireless system. But things could still go wrong. So if an electric motor went wrong, or the battery failed, or I don't know, something goes wrong, we've still got plan C, and that is you lift this grommet here out, it comes out very easily, and in underneath that is a 3/8 square drive hole. You put a 3/8 drive. I have a 3/8 to 1/2 inch adapter and a 1/2 inch ratchet drive, and I can lift these, and one owner did, he had to lift it up mechanically, so he used his ratchet drive, and he was able to do it that way. So he got himself out of trouble doing that. It wasn't a fault of the legs, it was to do with the storage issue. So anyway, that's how he got out of the trouble, but I have that in the car, so I have those two ways to go and reserve with the electric legs if the U-Butte system were to ever fail. Now it's time to put the electric stands away. Don't wrench them side to side, these plugs, just pull them out nice and evenly like that. I tie the wires around like that so that they don't flog out the plugs. Sit it neatly. And put these hoods over them, keep the motors from being knocked around. The hoods keep the motors from rubbing against each other in storage, and also does give a bit of extra protection to the electric motors, but keep in mind that these are often kept out in the weather anyway, a lot of these things. We just take them off because that way they don't get ripped off in the bush. But that's just what we do, but it does give that extra bit of protection. Now you've got, we only need that one. You ease off these bolts on here, and then once that's done, this simply comes out. Put that back in there so you don't lose your load bearing pin, and this comes and gets stacked away. We've already put two away for this side, so I'm just going to put this one away as well. Goes up into its little cradle in there, it slides in. That's three. So this is the last one, this goes in here, up onto its cradle. There they are. Now they're all interlocked together. They're actually sitting on the chassis rail of the ute, so they're quite secure in there. They're not going to come into any harm. And then just to keep everything secure and out of sight. And then we've got the bolts to put in. We've already done the two for the other side. So these chappies go in here. Because that's behind that batten and it's sitting on a tread plate, after a little while it will embed into the treads, so these bolts will come a little bit loose when it first goes on, especially when it's a new camper. So after 500 k's or something, just check and make sure, give them they might need a turn of the nut to nip them up completely. We find these very reliable, but it is a nylock, so if you're doing a lot of corrugation work, you know, doing a long trip, probably put some new M12 nylock nuts on before you do a long trip on corrugations. So I'll just nip this one up. Now we've got to get our 4 load bearing pins. I'll just grab the 2 from the other side. We're good to go. The electric stands and the mechanical stands use exactly the same principles. They use the same mounting points in the corners. Everything's the same. The electric stands, at least for vehicles like this, we've got our own purpose designed cradle underneath the tray that they fit in, as you've seen. The mechanical stands live in underneath the fridge and in part of the kitchen in underneath there, which you'll see now. So to get at most of the parts, you open up the fridge hatch here and take the fridge out. And then all the parts come out until finally you've got 2 pins, a plate to go on the ground, and the stand. Now there's 4 complete sets like that, and the other part lives in here. So to get at that, we simply lift this out, and there are 4 in there, so they come out like that. We'll just take the one out today for our purposes. We'll put that back away. Okay, so to assemble them, this part goes into there. The different holes depending on the ground level. I might have to go the second hole up, but we'll see. This part goes on here. Okay, and we simply lift that up into place, and sure enough, I wasn't sure if that was going to work because the ground is lifting up here. We're not on anything even remotely like a level thing, so we just go down one, reposition it so we can allow for different tray heights and ground conditions. That goes in there. Now in this case there's no electric motor to move, so you're doing it yourself. Always keep your hand over the socket because it can fly off and hit you in the face. Do that and you're completely safe. Then you simply wind away. Now as this one hits the ground, exactly the same as the electric motor, this will rise up in here. You can see with my fingers, you'll see it rise up in there. And there it is, it's now under load. So we can lock that off, like that. It's exactly the same system as the other one. Alright, now that's dead steady, and we can start to lift it up. And remember, with both these and the electric legs, you can actually use them to level the camper if the site's a bit uneven where you are. So you can lift this up and you can actually see the suspension moving. So there's an enormous amount of power there to be able to do all that. That's if it's bolted to the tray, and obviously the load is being transferred up through this bolt, through this bracket system and straight down to the ground. So it is a very strong design. Now the same thing applies to the mechanical legs as the electric legs. It's very stable side to side, but you can get a slight rock fore and aft when it hasn't got the camper on. So you can put a stabiliser bar from there down to there, exactly the same as the electric legs, to a pin like that. So when you're taking the camper off, you can, if there's two of you, you can wind together on the sides, and you might do 30 turns at the front, 30 at the back, 30 at the front, 30 at the back, to get it high enough to drive out. And similarly, when you're winding down, you do it that way as well. So pretty well the same system really. So we'll just wind it down again now. Now when you get it all the way wound up, it's never a good idea to leave things locked tight. Just bring it around a turn so that it's not jammed and you're not sure which way it's got to go. Release the two bolts. And all we've got to do is disassemble them. As these pins come out, they stack better if you just put the R-clip through there like that, rather than jamming it through there. They stack flatter. So, to put these away, it looks like a capital F, I think, right? So you put the first one in with these offset arms up high. So that goes in underneath there. If you can see what I'm doing. And then that slides forward as far as it can. And then you get the other one, the offsets are different. There's two matched pairs. So this one will also go in the diagonal opposite camper corner over there, and that one go on those two diagonal opposites. So this one then, remember how the last one was on top like that? This one then goes in and locks in underneath it. So I'll put that in there. The gears are up that end rather than this end, and we're going to lie these offset arms down in there so they go into the back like that. And then finally this one sits in on top of it, so that goes in there like that. And then you simply stack away big bits first and work your way down to little bits, finding the best spots for them. Now if you've got an all mechanical system, then these load bearing pins, and there's 4 of those, obviously one for each corner, would go in there as well. But this camper normally runs on electric legs, so I store them in underneath there, so we won't worry about that for now. And then finally, this leg here, this is the middle part. So all we do with that, again, swing that out, put that in there, and then we can lock in whichever kitchen design you have. This one locks down like that. And there it is, that's the mechanical legs, all done. So what we have with the mechanical legs is a very strong system, it's very stable, and it stacks away to a very compact little space. It's well done from a weight distribution point of view, being down low and as far forward in the camper as we can get. That's the advantage of the mechanical system, also costs less, but you work harder with it. The electric system, you simply press the button and up and down it goes. Thank you.